Greetings, chess friends. Today, we're going to see some games from a legendary player. You have certainly heard the name, but you might not have even seen any of the games of Miguel Najdorf. You've heard the name, of course, because of the opening of which bears his name. He is the namesake of the Najdorf Sicilian. But he played what, for if anybody wanted to argue, the greatest game of all time. We can have that conversation. But let's check this one out. So this came from the year 1930. I'm going to tell you that Najdorf was born in the year 1910. When the Second World War broke out in 1939, many players were at the Chess Olympiad in Argentina, just by chance. And he and some others actually just stayed in Argentina. And he did many chess-related things, simuls, blindfolded simuls. He was really an amazing player. So this game, I'll mention again his age at some moments. He played very late into his life, even into his 80s, competitive chess. So knight g5, and here is where this game takes a step into the legendary, was this so-called Polish Immortal. Najdorf was Polish by birth, but like I said, eventually represented Argentina and actually contributed to a lot of the great culture there to this day. Bishop takes h2. This game contains 5 brilliancies. It's only 22 moves long. 5 brilliancies by Miguel Najdorf. Really a legendary attacker. Okay, it's easy to see that if king takes, knight jumps to g4, and the knight here is going to get taken on the next move. Black didn't even sacrifice anything. King h1, and the point of that is, of course, the bishop is still under attack, but also this pawn. And so that would attack queen and rook. Najdorf plays knight g4, guards the bishop, threatens the knight, f4, supporting the knight, queen e8. I love these sly moves here, and sliding over to queen h5. Pawn g3, queen h5. You knew that move was coming, but the next one you will not see coming. What a position. King g2, and a stunning move, and a brilliant move. Bishop g1. Are you kidding me? Bishop g1. This really cannot be taken. Easy to see. If king takes, that's mate. Knight and queen, a great team. If rook takes, check. And even if you go up or down, that's mate. So this can't be taken in the traditional ways. Knight takes is what we saw in the game. So let's take a look at this one. Queen h2 check. Keep in mind, folks, we are down a minor piece right now. The bishop that we sacrificed. King f3, the only move. Here, again, this game has been amazing, but it keeps going. e5. And that move could be a brilliancy, the best move. How do you even find these moves? I believe that pawn sacrifices are some of the hardest moves to find like this. It looks like that square is so secure. Your eyes don't want to look in that direction. It has a lot to do with this bishop, maybe. The nature of these openings with all the pawns on the light squares. Bishop gets trapped. How do we free it? It's always on our mind. At the same time, these knights are able to sacrifice, and we're all in checkmate or bust. e5. D takes e5. Knight D takes e5 check. The only move to capture. Knight takes e5 check. Again, the only move is king f4. Knight g6. Again, the only move is king f3. And again, a really nice finish to this game. It's just been stellar. A perfect game, more or less. f4. Introducing this bishop, which I'll remind you was just a moment ago locked away. Let's go back to this position. This bishop is buried alive. And now, all of a sudden, it's one of our best pieces. f4. If we get to open the rook file, this game's over. E takes f4, and a stunning checkmate incoming here. If you want to try your best, I'll give you a second. Najdorf landed bishop g4. Incredible move. Actually, it looks like king e3 might survive a little more, but you lose your queen behind. King takes, and here is the mate, knight e5. The only move allowed is to capture this. And with the queen and rook sidelining the king, the simple pawn move, h5. And this game goes into chess history. A perfect game by Najdorf, an attacking masterpiece, if there ever was one. And at this moment, with checkmate on the board, we are down 4 minor pieces. What? 4 minor pieces? An incredible game. and attacking just sparkling brilliance. Okay, let's keep going because he had many games like that. And when we look at the games and the career of Najdorf, we have to talk about the Najdorf. Here we go. A6 starts the Najdorf defense. And for my money, this is really the best opening. I can't even say that I play it all throughout the years too often, but I would say it is kind of the Cadillac of openings and really to this day at the highest level contested. So for fighting attacking players, it is a great way and a more mature way, I think, than let's say the Dragon or some other more speculative Sicilians. Knight c6. Queen c7. Of course, the Najdorf Sicilian, and we're talking about the variation, uses the c file. We have this a6 move characteristic, but it really stops a lot of the pieces from coming to b5. At the same time, allows black to charge forward on the queen side. So this game is really a pretty smooth win. He played many games in the Najdorf, but I like this one especially. To this day, I always kind of love it when my knight gets to e5 here in the Sicilian. A nice central square defending and attacking. Castles long. A bit of a rarity, but notice this pawn is guarded as well. We're castling away from danger. King b8, safety first. Queen c4, now time to attack. Rook c8. Queen b4. Queen b6, starting the pin, but this game really opens up after d5. D5 brings the bishop in, and you see over and over again the hallmark of strong players bring more pieces to the party. Knight takes knight, and d4. Opening that c file rook straight to the king. Bishop h6 check. This is getting very uncomfortable for the king. They can only block. The king has no squares to run. Knight d2. Queen a5, which hits the pawn, intensifies the pressure here. But really major problems in the works. If king b1, which feels like the most natural move, you just lose the knight. So queen a5 is very pesky. Queen a3, not a fun move to play. He plays queen takes queen. And then bishop a4, attacking. Even after the queens go, the attack rages on. Bishop d3, that doesn't really defend the pawn. Brilliancy. Bishop takes, and then he resigns due to the coming d3. That will fatally threaten the bishop, which is going to get captured. This bishop still pointing at the knight. The king is in danger. Really, black is just completely in charge of this one. Let's keep going. Here, the first game we saw was Glucksberg. This one is Glucksberg. No relation, but we had a very interesting game here, and I'll just jump right to it. Knight e5. That knight has sinister thought on its mind, trapping the queen. Looks like a simple opening here, which came from a French defense. Knight takes knight, g takes, and knight takes f7. This guy was just a brilliancy machine. Knight f7, queen h5, and you can see the combination of bishop, bishop, queen, but as we've said over and over again, add more pieces. We want to take some lessons from these games, not just marvel at the great players, but take some lessons. When you're on the attack, use as many pieces as you can. Look for creative moves, but it's all about the more pieces, the easier, the more combinations of attacking there are. Rook takes e6, and that computers don't like it today, but a very scary move. In fact, he takes it and lines up this pin. What's nice about this is the queen guards that square too. If black were to be able to put a bishop in the way, this wouldn't nearly work. Queen d6 supports the knight, and this pin is deadly. Remember, the pin is mightier than the sword. Bishop f8, and black really cracks under the pressure. Rook e1, use more pieces. Bishop c8, queen e8. The pin is mightier than the sword. This knight is pinned. This bishop is pinned. This bishop is pinned that way. Everybody is attacked. Crisscrossed fireworks. This is over. Bishop d7. That's really just trying to slow things down, but Najdorf finds the perfect solution. Rook takes e6. Absolute dynamite in the middle of black's position. The king just getting crisscrossed, and this is just checkmate. That's check. Where's the check? Coming from the bishop. Bishop e6, interpose. Bishop takes bishop. The only move is to sacrifice your queen, and we don't even want it. Rook takes f8, checkmate. That game just ended in a flurry and a really stunning checkmate Again, Najdorf really, let's say, earning the reputation that his opening has is because of his fighting spirit. That great opening has persisted. So speaking of fighting spirit, him and Tal went to war in what I thought was a really fun game. This came from that Soviet Union versus the world match we've referenced before. And here, after what appeared to be a trade of rooks, this game went queen d8, and then rook takes rook. An in-between move, but hard to tell who's attacking who. Queen e1, and a real chase starts here, a game of cat and mouse. This rook is hanging, but also here, a move like queen f6, very, very scary. And oftentimes it's king safety that wins out in these type of games. Rook c3, that's a defensive move, as now this rook won't be able to help so easily at checkmate the king. Check, 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 check. And again, the position's so complicated. You think that black is just easily getting mated, but you can't use this rook due to the brilliant move by Tal, rook c3. So this game was very tense, and to make it even more tense, queen f8, king h5, this game on the 40th move was adjourned. Adjourned right here. And the players, with all their team of grandmasters around in this tournament, get to go back and analyze all night. There were no computers, so actually humans doing the work. And only one move wins here. What a time to adjourn. And they come back the next day, presumably, and Najdorf finds the best move. Queen h8, king g5. Still not over, though. Queen e5, queen f4. This type of move is actually very important because now this pawn is guarded. Now this check, which the black queen was looking for, is guarded. And we avoid a trade. White is trying to win this game due to the king's safety. White is saying, your king is more in danger than mine. Rook f1, dislodging the queen. Still white is in charge. An excellent endgame by white here, start to finish. Queen f7, queen f8, forcing the king back out. Of course, the king cannot go backwards. Rook f7 is checkmate. So you are forcing that king forward. Usually more forward is more danger. Rook f4. Another brilliant move, but this is really threatening now. Queen h8 and queen h4 checkmate. Queen e1, that guards that h4 square. Queen h8 anyway. Queen e5 anyway. Almost triangulating, but the move that ended it, rook g4. You've kept an eye on this check. The white king is incredibly safe, somehow. And now queen h8 is threatened, checkmate. You can't just move the king with no danger. We could even start collecting free pawns. The attack rages on, but white is now even ahead by one. With the king still safe, this game is over. An incredible game. Najdorf defeats the former world champion Tal. Here, a quick knockout finish and another instance of that classic smothered checkmate. One move, game over. D takes c4. White resigns here. A beautiful discovered attack, which would have been here topped off by queen c5 and the classic discovered check and smothered mate. Smothered checkmate here. King h1, queen g1, and one of the most aesthetic and beautiful checkmates, knight f2 mate. So that was a really cool one. I love d takes c4 as a nice tactic, uncovering the dual problems here, and white resigned. Let's keep moving. That was a quick one. Here, Ulf Andersson, the notoriously strong, strategic, and defensive player, hard to beat him. Well, Najdorf just went straight for him. Knight e5, h4. Going straight after the defensive player and seeing who's defender versus attacker, who wins out. Knight d3, do you want to trade pieces? Bishop h6, a counterattack. I'll add, this game was played in Vic on Z, Tata Steel as it's known today, 1978, and Najdorf was 68, 67 or 8 years old. It's a very much older man, twice the age of Andersson here, and still kicking here. Knight e4. We started from this moment with black having no pieces across the fifth rank, and all of a sudden he is charging forward. Knight d2 wins an exchange here. Black is really just completely winning, and this game doesn't last long. h4, going straight for him. I love how this attack seemingly came out of thin air. h3, that's supported by the queen. Checkmating patterns all around now, and knight takes e3. White resigns. Black really just crashing through here. An amazing attacking game. And the final one here, we'll just go through to the end, a short finish. Here, white, Najdorf, is actually down a pawn, but with all of his pieces quite energetic. Here, queen takes knight. That looks strange walking into a pin, but it's even worse if you take with the pawn due to the nice tactic queen c4. Any knight move is really going to just lose the d6 pawn, and white is clearly better. So it was a real problem here. Queen had to take not pawn e4, as knight can jump and attack our queen, counterattack, but he played queen c4, black queen hanging, and queen takes b7. That doesn't seem too consequential, but actually with the pawn recouped and all of our pieces very well placed, look at the counterparts. The black piece is really not active, and that's what does him in. c5, and a very alert Najdorf plays rook takes c5. Again, brilliancy. And the point of this one is really cool. Here, he plays f6, but if rook takes rook, we would respond with queen takes rook. Why giving our queen? Well, now there are no rooks on the back rank, and rook d8 once the queen blocks, and we capture is checkmate. So really, a rook that just can't be taken, a free pawn, a critical pawn. Now white is up in material and in position. That's a nice place to be. f6, rook takes rook. Why not trade a little more when you are ahead? Queen takes, and maybe black 2 pawns down has some sort of counterplay with something this and that, and maybe... No. Queen b7. The point, again, we cut off the king, threatening rook d8, checkmate. And if you try to make some luft, h6 or h7, here black did resign, by the way. This doesn't help you as your king lands here. Let's point out that rook d8, queen e4 picks up the rook. So no escape, and black resigns. An incredible run of games by Najdorf, and really worth looking at not just his opening, which he played many times. We only featured one game, but his incredible attacking games, especially with the black pieces, some really nice ones. Hope that was fun, and you learned a little something about Najdorf, his opening, his life, and chess, and I hope you'll join us next time for some more interesting chess content. Thank you again.